Dolan, you are running for state rep for Washington County in Vermont.
I am.
That is so exciting.
It is very exciting. I'm thrilled to be a candidate.
Wow. So you've been serving on the Waitsfield Select Board. This is your second term?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So I'm curious, what inspired you to become a leader?
Well, this is finally my opportunity to talk about sports. When I announced my candidacy, my roommates in college that I played field hockey and lacrosse with wondered why I wasn't talking about field hockey. But that team spirit,
Yes.
that team approach, I think really kind of instilled in me a sense of wanting to work together for a common goal, a common good. And so building on that kind of team spirit, the select board is like a team, and it's there to represent the public and to problem solve and address the public concerns. You know, I've dedicated my career to public service, and from managing floodplains and part of the National Flood Insurance Program coordinator for the state, worked in energy, and now I manage the Clean Water Initiative for the state, which targets, manages funding and tracking and reporting on our clean water investments. And I think that commitment to public service is so dear to me. Working at the select board is an opportunity to really help improve people's lives. And I see that this stepping up to be a candidate for the House seat for Washington 7 is an opportunity for me to continue to work for people and make their lives better.
Awesome. So in the 2 years that you've been on the select board, what would you say are some of the biggest projects or things that you've worked on that you feel have benefited the community?
Well, actually, I've been on the select board going on 4 years.
Oh, it's 4
I've
years,
been
right? 2-year terms.
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that. Right.
Which has been just fabulous. The select board traditionally on Vermont has worked really hard on making people's lives better, working on a whole suite of issues from filling potholes, working on paving dollars, and then the real challenging issues of trying to recover from major disasters such as Tropical Storm Irene. And
Right.
I can't say enough about the select board members currently and those that came before us that really worked hard for helping Waitsfield, the town of Waitsfield. Within my tenure, it's been terrific within being on the select board. I think we've accomplished a significant amount of improvements. We continue to work on Irene recovery from completing culvert projects, for example, even moving the town office out of harm's way to its new location. You know, any topic, any issue certainly requires the involvement of the public. And every topic, whether it was developing open space on Scrag Mountain to recovering from Irene, it's that public engagement that's so critical. And getting whole viewpoints on the table and to really wrestle with what makes sense moving forward. And I see that that's a real exciting way of approaching topics and issues and challenges, is that collaborative spirit with the residents that live here.
Cool.
And how do we make their lives better?
Have you found any leaders that you've been particularly inspired by over the years?
Well, in fact, at the local level, one of the greatest leaders I think that I've been just so fortunate to work with is Paul Hartshorn. He's a man he was wise, he's experienced, he's real, and he's a hard worker and has accomplished so much. In addition to raising a wonderful family, he's also demonstrated, I think, a good, strong work ethic and how important it is to be stewards of the land, from farming to logging. And I think all of that is in fact an important priority for me, is how can we support that farm and forest and local foods that are so important to this region. And as a state representative, that would be a major priority for me, is to continue to work on that rural economy, farm, forest, tourism and outdoor recreation, small business hubs, and how to foster that. I think we have so many of those business hubs and business opportunities at that cottage industry scale, and I think that is a real opportunity for us to continue to invite those businesses to our community.
I agree. So what would you say are the biggest challenges that you see as if you were to win the nomination and work in the State House? What would be your biggest challenges, do you think?
Well, I'm certainly first and foremost going to work to be available and be accessible and be able to listen to all points of view and all thoughts and concerns of the people that I'd be representing. Would be their representative. And with that comes a responsibility of being available. And certainly that would be a major priority for me. As I mentioned, the economy, the local economy, rural economies for this region is important. And that would be a priority. Affordability and livability is also a priority for me. We need to be able to afford where we live and live where we work, and while at the same time develop in a way that supports the vitality of our local towns, while at the same time make it pedestrian and bike friendly. And so that kind of scale of development that's thoughtful and that is complementary of this landscape, it would be a priority as well. And I guess my third priority, in addition to the economy, the livability and affordability questions, the environment, because we recognize that our economy depends on a healthy environment. And in fact, water is life, and we require and live with on this landscape with people that take care of this land. I would want to support that, and it's really about this generation, but tomorrow's generation as well. So how can we work together for a healthy future? And that would be my third priority.
So this is probably a question I shouldn't ask, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Oftentimes when candidates are running, some people say, okay, I'm just going to propose the views of my constituents. I don't have my own views necessarily. I'm just going to represent the people's views. How do you balance that, having your own views and based on your experience and all that you have come to that place with what the majority of the people that have elected you are wanting you to do?
I think what I can bring to this seat, the House of Representatives, is my capacity to problem solve.
Okay, talk to me about that.
Well, with that comes the ability to listen, to hear all sides, to be collaborative in those approaches. Democracy is messy. It involves people with different viewpoints to get engaged, to voice their opinions, to wrestle and determine that strategy for moving forward. And it's all about a collaborative end result. How can we achieve a better tomorrow working together to make that vision happen? And that's what I bring. I bring the experience of being a problem solver, of listening, and of really trying to work at solutions that are going to sustain ourselves into the future. And I think that's an important element to my campaign is that collaboration and teamwork approach to solving problems.
Do you have any good examples of things where you feel particularly proud of problem solving and teamwork that you've experienced either in your business life or on the select board?
Well, in fact, on the select board, as you know, the region is made up of 5 communities, Waitsfield, Warren, Fayston, Moortown, and Duxbury. And my experience on the Waitsfield Select Board has, every time we meet, provides an opportunity for that collaborative spirit, because we have this whole region has independent-minded people.
Yes.
With and that independence, I see myself as one of those independent-minded people. But when you walk through the door in a select board meeting, it's all about solving those problems. That's really going to be common sense based, affordable, and help us move together to a healthier, cleaner, happier environment in future. An example that comes to mind is take the soccer fields.
Oh yeah.
The soccer fields are really an asset for the whole region. People and kids from around the 5 towns come to play soccer and other sports such as lacrosse. And now that it's in ownership, we hear that we're using this as an attraction for other communities to come and participate in jamborees and tournaments. So in fact, there's some economic benefit to that. But how do you get 5 communities together in a relatively short period of time to acquire the use of the site, to acquire the land to continue that use? We have a tremendous set of volunteers throughout this region. The Mad River Rec District in particular led the effort, but it really took the concerted effort of all communities, of interested parents and kids and coaches and organizations to come together and determine how are we going to make this vision happen. I must also point out that the landowner was incredibly generous for making this vision happen as well, and they too were a part of that solution. And that's an example of all of us coming together, working through the very difficult challenges of how are we going to afford the acquisition of this? What's the timing of that purchase? What does that look like? What about parking? And what about potential impacts to the neighbors that are in and around that area? And all that took that kind of collaboration.
Did you find that there was much controversy or any negative feedback from some of the public that didn't want that to happen?
I think there's always that concern because, let's face it, when you use some of the taxpayer monies for one purpose, you're not using it for another purpose. And so I call that an opportunity cost. So it's really important as a select board member and as a representative to the House of Representatives that every dollar spent is used wisely and cost effectively, targeted in a way that's going to make an impact. And number 2, only raise the taxes that we can afford to raise. So that, again, coming to that affordability issue is important. We're a small state, and yet we have big ideas. And being able to be smart at how we raise and spend funding and appropriate those dollars wisely is absolutely critical to support our businesses and the people that live here.
Yeah. How are we doing, Bob?
Oh, we're good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Suggestions, ideas?
Yeah. No, I'm enjoying listening.
Okay, cool. Did you have any examples of parents or people in your life growing up that demonstrated leadership to you that were inspiring?
Well, it's wonderful when you can say your own parents are inspirational, and they were.
Yeah.
They are. My parents are just loving people, inspirational from a personal perspective as well, because they are so loving with a loving family, and it has taught me what love means and what family means and what neighbors and community means. And I think that's really terrific to have that within your own family. And so growing up, I think that made a huge impact on me. They were also very giving, always contributing to the communities. My father was the chair of the school board, local school board, for years and years. And I think that demonstration of a commitment to public service was, I think, something that I wanted to also embrace. And I've been, in addition to my dedication to public service through my work, I've also been for many years on the Waitsfield Planning Commission.
Oh, okay.
I've been a board member to the Mad River Valley Planning District. I've been a board member to the Friends of the Mad River, and now on the Waitsfield Select Board for this second term. And I think that's a reflection of my interest to work hard for our neighbors and to be available for them, to help them move in a positive way forward.
Do you feel there are unique challenges that we face in the Mad River Valley that may be different than other communities in Washington County or other parts of the state?
I think all of our communities in this district are probably wrestling with those same 3 priorities, and it's fundamentally why my priorities are these priorities: the economy, a rural-based economy with support for village downtown areas, and what that means in terms of farm, forest, local foods, and business hubs. That affordability question is important. How can people afford to live here, and how to make these communities continue to keep them livable and pedestrian friendly and bike friendly, so people can walk to workplaces or commercial areas, as well as the environment. We're so fortunate in that we have waters to swim in during these hot summer days, and beautiful mountains to ski in. And we've also been incredibly fortunate to have terrific businesses in those industries as well. Whether you're dealing with the Sugarbush Ski Resort in Mad River, with wonderful ownership and leadership, to small businesses that depend on the outdoors. And I would want to continue to work with these businesses to determine how we can best support them in terms of a full 4-season experience for our visitors and our residents. Whether that's different from other communities around the state is a good question, but we are a rural state. We have our population areas and counties that perhaps are more urban in nature, but I think when you look at where most of the folks are living in Vermont, they're in the small communities. And so much of, I think, these priorities do reflect those values and those interests in Vermont generally as well.
Nice. If you could wave a magic wand and create some positive change that you would really like to see in the state of Vermont, what might that look like?
Oh, great question. I think one of the struggles of any state is the influence of the federal dialogue going on now, and the national dialogue. And it's unfortunate that you occasionally see it spilling over in how we communicate with each other as neighbors, as people we run into in the grocery stores. And I think one of the challenges that we have to continue to remind ourselves is that people are people, and we have more in common than what we have differences. And if we look at that and embrace that and see that we may have topics and issues that we care about dearly that may appear as being perhaps different in perhaps I can repeat myself.
Yeah, don't worry, because we can edit it.
Okay.
You can say whatever you want.
And so when you look at how since we have more in common than what we have as differences, I think we need to embrace that element of our commonality as people and as neighbors. However, there are still going to be topics in public policy that people will disagree. We need to agree to disagree in a I think in a civil way. However, we need to listen to all perspectives too, and determine how we're going to move forward that reflects that interest to be collaborative in that approach. There will be some times where decisions are made, will have to be made, that will cause some consequences. And I think that if we're honest, transparent, fully accountable for the approach, where we've evaluated all options in a very open and transparent way that invites people to be part of that dialogue, engages the public and businesses to be part of that conversation, I think that's how we move forward. And in my mind, that's the Vermont approach that we want to continue to embrace and move away from this national strife that can certainly, in my mind, cause speed bumps along the way of us being able to work together for a common vision and a common goal of making our lives better for this generation and future generations.
Do you, what do you feel sort of sets you apart from some of the other candidates that are running for your position?
I always try to say that I'm not running against anyone.
Right.
I'm running for
For a
things.
position. That's cool.
And
I like that.
yes, because in fact, the other candidates, good for them to be part of it, and more people should get engaged in these opportunities, whether they're at the local level or at the statewide level. By all means, our towns and our states need these voices to be part of the dialogue, and I take that approach very seriously. And so when I look at myself and the other candidates, what I see is that although I fully support their candidacy, I think what I offer is a vision that helps to approach problem solving in a civil way, that's collaborative in spirit, that focuses on these priorities that I laid out, whether the rural economy, the affordability and livability, and the environment. And I have years of experience working on a team-based approach to problem solving from the local level to the state level. I have experience managing large budgets and targeting those dollars wisely so that the public can be rest assured that every dollar, in this case invested for clean water, is going to make a difference. And that experience of knowing how to manage budgets, have significant experience in the State House, presenting and discussing the priorities for the state with respect to our water resources. And I think that experience of knowing how the system works means I can hit the ground running. But what I also offer is my commitment, my passions, and my desire to be accessible, to be available for all the folks that I'd be representing. And I think that commitment to a collaborative spirit is, I think, something that I can bring to the table.
Awesome. So if I were to poll your fellow select board members and ask them, who is Carrie Dolan? How does she show up as a leader on this board? What would they tell me?
I think they would say she's got a lot of energy. And that's another thing I can bring to the table is my energy, my passions, my commitment in making people's lives better, my problem solving capacity, my interest in listening. I'm always listening to the opinions of others, whether they're on the select board or the public coming to voice their interests or concerns or some of the issues they're facing. And I'm always trying to seek a way forward in a collaborative spirit. And I think that kind of approach of civility, of teamwork, of humor, of commitment to people is something that they would agree to.
Awesome. So who is Carrie Dolan, the regular person that's not just the political figure?
Well, I'm someone who just loves the outdoors. With all my spare time, I love to hike, to ski in the winters, backcountry ski, swim, paddle, a canoe on waters, whether swift or quiet. I just love being outdoors. So I welcome folks to join me on hikes or in walks or skiing at any time, and in the right season, of course.
Right. Awesome.
But that's my passion, is our landscape, our world around us. I love the local foods movement and community supported agriculture, CSA in the Valley. I think that's so important for us to support local businesses and local agriculture. I'm passionate about that. I often say that it's the local foods movement that's going to save the world. And by participating through the CSAs, we're contributing to that vision. Awesome. So that's another passion of mine.
Cool. Is there anything that we should know about you that I haven't asked?
Let's see. I'm a mom of 2 grown daughters. I have a lovely, wonderful husband, a crazy dog who's very friendly.
Right below me right now.
and I'm also just madly in love with this region, and that's why I'm running, because I love the people here, I love these communities, and I want to make a difference, a positive difference for them and for our future.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you for this time.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
What do you think?